The unusual catch. It was a cold, stormy night on the coast. The small fishing boat rocked back and forth as huge waves slammed against its sides. The crew of 6 fishermen, led by Mike, struggled to keep their footing as the storm howled around them. The dark clouds blocked the moonlight, and only the dim glow of their boat's lights lit up the endless black sea. Mike was an experienced fisherman. He had spent his whole life on these waters, but something about this night felt strange. The storm had come out of nowhere, and their nets had been unusually empty all evening. The men worked quietly, too focused on their tasks to talk much. That's when the sonar started to beep. "Got something," called out Sam, the youngest member of the crew. He was staring at the screen with wide eyes. "It's huge." Mike stepped over, wiping rain from his face. He squinted at the sonar. The signal was strange. Whatever was under the water wasn't moving like a school of fish. It was still, sitting at the bottom of the ocean, but the shape was enormous. Larger than anything Mike had seen in these waters before. "Could be a wreck," said Joe, another crew member. "Maybe a ship that sank years ago." Mike shook his head. "It's too deep for that. No wreck would stay intact at this depth. Let's pull it up." The other men exchanged nervous glances. Pulling something that big out of the deep sea was risky, especially in a storm. But Mike was their leader, and they trusted his judgment. The crew prepared the winch, lowering the heavy-duty fishing nets into the water. The process was slow. The boat groaned as the machinery strained against the weight of whatever was on the ocean floor. It took all 6 men working together to haul the nets up. Inch by inch, the mysterious object began to rise. As it neared the surface, the crew noticed something odd. A faint, eerie glow appeared in the water. It wasn't the glow of bioluminescent sea creatures or reflected light. It was steady and unnatural, like the light from a machine. The closer it came, the brighter the glow became, until the water around the boat looked like it was lit from beneath. "What the hell is that?" muttered Sam, stepping back. Finally, the object broke through the surface. The fishermen gasped. Tangled in their nets was not a piece of wreckage or debris. It was a massive metallic structure, sleek and futuristic, with sharp edges and strange patterns etched into its surface. It looked like something out of a science fiction movie. Mike leaned over the edge of the boat, examining the object closely. The strange symbols carved into the metal seemed to shift and move as he stared at them, as if they were alive. "This isn't from Earth," he said quietly. "What are you saying?" Joe asked, his voice shaking. "You think it's alien?" "I don't know what else it could be," Mike replied. He reached out to touch the surface of the object, but as soon as his fingers made contact, a low hum filled the air. The sound was deep and vibrating, and it seemed to come from inside the object itself. The crew jumped back in fear. "Mike, maybe we should leave it," Sam said nervously. "This feels wrong." But Mike wasn't ready to give up. "We've already pulled it this far. We can't leave it now. It might be valuable or dangerous. We need to know what we're dealing with." As they continued to inspect the object, a small panel on its side suddenly slid open with a hiss. Steam poured out, and the glow grew brighter. The crew stumbled back, shielding their eyes. When the steam cleared, they saw something that made their blood run cold. Inside the object was a dark, shadowy figure. It was humanoid but taller and thinner than any human, with long limbs and glowing, golden eyes. The creature was slumped over, weak and unmoving, but alive. "Is it an alien?" whispered Sam. The figure stirred, lifting its head slightly. It opened its mouth, and a strange, garbled sound came out. The fisherman couldn't understand the words, but the tone was pleading, desperate. "Help it," Mike said firmly. "Whatever it is, it needs our help." The crew hesitated. Fear and curiosity battled in their minds. Joe shook his head. "We don't know what it is. It could be dangerous. Or it could need us," Mike argued. "If we were stranded out here, wouldn't we want someone to help us? We can't just leave it." As the crew debated, the hum from the object grew louder. The boat began to shake, and the glow brightened even more, lighting up the stormy night like a lighthouse. The alien raised its hand weakly, pointing toward the dark ocean. It was trying to warn them. Mike turned to look, and his heart sank. The water around the boat was beginning to churn, as if something massive was rising from the depths. "Something's coming," he said, his voice grim. "Get ready." The crew scrambled to prepare, their fear forgotten in the face of the new danger. Whatever they had pulled up from the abyss was not alone, and whatever was coming for it would change their lives forever. First contact. The storm raged on as the fishermen stood frozen, staring at the strange being slumped inside the alien structure. Mike's heart pounded in his chest. The alien, with its long limbs and glowing eyes, looked fragile yet terrifying. It lifted its hand weakly again, pointing toward the water with more urgency. The alien's message was clear, even without words. Danger was near. "Mike, this is insane," Joe shouted, his voice nearly drowned out by the wind. "We don't even know what this thing is. For all we know, it could kill us." "Look at it, Joe," Mike shot back. "Does it look like it's here to harm us? It's barely alive." He stepped closer to the alien, his instincts telling him to act. If we don't help it now, it's going to die. As Mike knelt beside the alien, he noticed its body was covered in intricate, armor-like skin that shimmered faintly under the boat's lights. Despite its otherworldly appearance, its eyes were unmistakably filled with fear and pain. Mike reached out cautiously, and to his surprise, the alien gripped his arm with surprising strength. The grip sent a strange sensation through him, a rush of images and feelings he couldn't understand. It was like a silent cry for help. "We're wasting time," Mike barked. "Help me get it out of this thing." Sam and another crew member hesitated but moved forward, carefully lifting the alien out of the metallic structure. It was lighter than expected, almost weightless. As they laid it gently on the deck, the alien emitted a faint, garbled sound. Its voice was unlike anything they had ever heard. It wasn't words, but a series of melodic tones and vibrations, as if it was trying to communicate. "What's it saying?" Sam asked, wide-eyed. "I don't know," Mike admitted, "but it's trying. We need to figure this out fast." The hum from the alien ship intensified, and the deck vibrated beneath their feet. The object seemed to be coming back to life, its glowing symbols shifting like liquid light. At the same time, the water around the boat churned violently. The sonar, which had been quiet moments ago, began to beep wildly. "Mike," Joe yelled, "something's out there." The crew rushed to the edge of the boat, peering into the dark, stormy waters. Shapes moved beneath the surface, massive, serpentine shadows that seemed to circle the boat like predators. Whatever they were far bigger than anything the fishermen had ever seen. Mike turned back to the alien, his voice firm. "What are those things? Are they after you?" The alien nodded weakly, raising its hand to the sky. A small holographic projection appeared, flickering in the rain. It showed a fleet of sleek alien ships in space, firing at a group of monstrous, dark creatures. The creatures looked similar to the shapes in the water, their razor-sharp bodies cutting through space like sharks. The hologram ended with an image of the alien's ship being shot down, crashing into the ocean. "They're hunters," Mike muttered, piecing it together. "And you're their prey." Before anyone could respond, one of the creatures broke the surface. It was massive, easily the size of their boat, with a long, armored body and glowing red eyes. Its jaws were lined with rows of jagged teeth, and it let out a deafening screech that sent shivers down their spines. "Get the harpoons," Mike shouted. The crew scrambled to arm themselves. Harpoons, fishing spears, and anything they could find were quickly gathered. But deep down, they all knew their weapons were no match for a creature of this size. The alien, still weak, raised its hand again. This time, it pointed at its ship. A panel on the side of the ship slid open, revealing a compartment filled with strange, glowing devices. The alien gestured urgently, as if telling them to take the items. "What's it doing?" Sam asked nervously. "It's giving us something," Mike said, grabbing one of the devices. It was a sleek, handheld object that pulsed with energy. As soon as he held it, it lit up, responding to his touch. "Weapons, maybe. Let's find out." Another creature emerged from the water, its massive body slamming against the side of the boat. The impact nearly knocked them all overboard. Mike didn't wait. He pointed the alien device at the creature and pressed a button. A beam of bright, crackling energy shot out, striking the creature and sending it recoiling into the water with a furious roar. "It works," Mike shouted. "Grab the others and use them." The crew armed themselves with the alien devices, their fear replaced by adrenaline. As more creatures surfaced, the fishermen fought back, firing beams of energy into the water. The storm raged around them, but their determination held strong. The alien watched, its glowing eyes filled with gratitude and hope. Despite its weakened state, it managed to stand, pointing toward the horizon. In the distance, through the rain and lightning, a faint light appeared, a beacon calling for help. "Help's coming," Mike realized, "but we have to hold out until then." The fishermen braced themselves as the largest of the creatures began to rise, its massive body towering over their small boat. The battle was far from over, and survival would take everything they had. The threat below. The storm intensified, with waves crashing over the sides of the fishing boat. The air was thick with tension and the alien hum that seemed to resonate from the depths. The sonar beeped faster now, signaling that more creatures were closing in. The fishermen clutched the alien devices tightly, their knuckles white with fear. Mike stood at the bow, scanning the dark waters. His mind raced as he tried to piece together what was happening. This wasn't just about saving the alien anymore. This was about survival. "Keep your eyes on the water," he shouted over the wind. "If they come too close, we hit them hard." The alien, still weak but standing, gestured toward the strange device in Mike's hand. Its glowing eyes focused on him as it made a series of soft, melodic sounds. The tones seemed to carry a sense of urgency and warning. "What's it saying?" Sam asked, trembling as he clutched his weapon. "I think it's trying to tell us how to use these things," Mike replied. He pointed the alien device toward the water again, ready for whatever came next. Suddenly, the boat lurched violently. A massive force had slammed into the hull from below. The fishermen staggered, grabbing onto anything they could to stay upright. "They're underneath us," Joe yelled, panic rising in his voice. Mike's mind raced. The creatures weren't just circling. They were testing the boat, searching for weaknesses. He glanced at the alien, who nodded and pointed toward the ship's glowing symbols. The message was clear. The creatures were after the alien ship. It was their beacon, their target. "We've got to draw them away from the ship," Mike shouted. "If they sink us, we're done for." "How are we supposed to do that?" Joe demanded, his voice cracking. Mike didn't answer. Instead, he grabbed one of the alien devices and fired it into the water. The beam of crackling energy struck the surface, sending ripples of light cascading through the waves. For a moment, everything was still. Then, the water erupted. A massive creature shot out of the ocean, its sleek, armored body glinting in the storm's light. It had the head of a predator, with glowing red eyes and a mouth filled with razor-sharp teeth. Its roar was deafening, a sound that seemed to shake the air itself. "Fire!" Mike bellowed. The fishermen unleashed a barrage of energy beams. The alien devices were powerful, sending blasts of light and sound into the creature's hide. It screeched in pain, thrashing as it fell back into the water. But even as it disappeared, the sonar continued to beep wildly. "There's more coming," Sam whispered, his voice trembling. "A lot more." The alien stepped forward, its movements still slow but deliberate. It raised one hand and pressed a symbol on its ship. The glowing patterns on the hull began to shift, forming a kind of shield around the vessel. The alien turned to Mike and made a series of quick gestures, pointing to the devices in their hands and then to the water. Mike frowned, trying to interpret. It wants us to buy time, he realized. The shield won't hold forever. Another impact rocked the boat, followed by another. The creatures were relentless, slamming into the hull from all sides. The fishermen fired their weapons, the beams illuminating the dark waters like lightning. One of the creatures surfaced near the stern, its glowing eyes fixed on Sam. "Sam, behind you," Mike shouted. Sam turned just in time, firing his weapon. The beam struck the creature's head, but it didn't stop. It lunged forward, its jaws snapping inches from Sam's leg. Joe grabbed a harpoon and plunged it into the creature's side, forcing it back into the water. "This isn't working," Joe yelled. "There's too many of them." Mike gritted his teeth. He could feel the boat weakening beneath the constant attacks. The alien ship's shield flickered, a sign that it was running out of power. They needed a plan, and fast. The alien suddenly moved to the edge of the boat, raising its hands toward the sky. Its body began to glow faintly, and a low, melodic hum filled the air. The fishermen watched in awe as the alien seemed to draw energy from the storm itself. Lightning struck the water around them, and the creatures recoiled, momentarily disoriented. "It's buying us time," Mike realized. "We need to finish this now." With renewed determination, the fishermen aimed their weapons at the water, firing in unison. The energy blasts were stronger now, as if the alien's presence was amplifying the devices. One by one, the creatures were forced back, their massive forms disappearing into the depths. But just as the crew began to hope they might survive, the sonar emitted a single, ominous beep. A new shape appeared on the screen, larger than anything they had seen before. "What is that?" Sam whispered, his face pale. The water around the boat began to churn violently, forming a massive whirlpool. The fishermen braced themselves as the largest creature yet emerged from the depths. It was monstrous, its body covered in jagged, spiked armor. Its glowing red eyes locked onto the alien ship, and it let out a roar that shook the very air. The alien turned to Mike, its glowing eyes filled with urgency. It gestured toward the ship, then to the fishermen. "We have one shot at this," Mike said grimly. "If we don't stop that thing, none of us are making it out alive." The crew readied their weapons, their fear replaced by a fierce determination. This was no longer just a fight for survival. It was a fight for each other, for their lives, and for the strange being that had entrusted them with its survival. As the monstrous creature charged, Mike raised his weapon and shouted, "Hold your ground. We end this now. Fight or flight." The monstrous creature loomed over the boat, its spiked armor glistening with seawater. Its glowing red eyes burned with an unnatural fury as it let out another ear-splitting roar. The fishermen stood frozen for a moment, their breaths caught in their throats. Even the storm seemed to pause as if acknowledging the presence of this terrifying predator. Mike snapped into action, his voice cutting through the tension. "Get ready. We're not going down without a fight." The crew tightened their grips on the alien weapons. The devices pulsed with a strange energy, humming in their hands as though sensing the danger. The alien, still standing weakly near the edge of the boat, raised its hand and made a rapid series of gestures toward the largest creature. Its golden eyes flickered, as if urging them to aim for a weak spot. "What's it saying now?" Sam asked, his voice quivering. Mike didn't hesitate. "The head. Aim for the head." The creature lunged forward, its massive jaws snapping inches from the boat's bow. The fishermen unleashed a barrage of energy blasts, their alien weapons lighting up the stormy night like a fireworks display. The beams struck the creature's face, scorching its thick armor and forcing it to reel back with a deafening screech. But the attack only seemed to enrage it. The creature retaliated, slamming its massive body into the side of the boat. The impact sent several men sprawling across the deck, and water began to flood the hold. "We're taking on water," Joe shouted, scrambling to his feet. "We can't take another hit like that." Mike glanced at the alien ship. The protective shield was flickering more rapidly now, and the symbols on its surface were dimming. Whatever power it had left wouldn't last much longer. "Sam, Joe," Mike barked, "get the pumps running. Keep us afloat." He turned to the others. "The rest of you with me. We got to keep that thing away from the ship." The monster charged again, but this time the alien raised its glowing hands. A shockwave of light erupted from its palms, striking the creature mid-lunge. The force pushed it back, but the alien collapsed onto the deck, drained from the effort. "Stay with me," Mike shouted, rushing to the alien's side. Its breathing was shallow, and its golden eyes dimmed slightly. It pointed weakly toward the ship, where a new panel had opened to reveal a glowing orb. The alien gestured urgently, as if telling Mike to use it. Mike hesitated. "You want me to activate that? What will it do?" The alien let out a faint, melodic sound, its version of a plea. Trusting his instincts, Mike rushed to the ship and grabbed the orb. It was warm to the touch, and as he held it, images flooded his mind. The alien's journey, its crash, the hostile creatures that had pursued it across galaxies. But more than that, he saw a blueprint, a way to fight back. "Got it," Mike muttered, gripping the orb tightly. He turned back to the crew. "I need you to buy me time. Keep that thing distracted." The fishermen nodded, their fear giving way to determination. They fired their weapons at the monster, aiming for its glowing eyes and vulnerable joints. The creature thrashed violently, its tail smashing into the boat's railing and sending debris flying. Mike placed the orb into a socket on the alien ship, and the vessel came alive. The symbols on its surface lit up in a brilliant cascade of colors, and a deep, resonating hum filled the air. The ship's shield expanded, enveloping the fishing boat as well. "What's happening?" Joe yelled, shielding his eyes from the blinding light. "It's powering up," Mike shouted back. "Hold the line, just a little longer." The monstrous creature roared, its red eyes glowing brighter as it launched a final, desperate attack. It lunged at the boat with all its might, its massive jaws aimed straight for the alien ship. The fishermen fired everything they had, but the creature was relentless. Just as it was about to strike, the alien ship emitted a pulse of energy so powerful that it shook the ocean itself. The pulse hit the creature mid-attack, freezing it in place. Its body convulsed as the energy coursed through it, and with one final, deafening roar, it collapsed into the water, sinking back into the depths. The fishermen stood in stunned silence, their breaths heavy. The storm began to ease, and the waters calmed. The alien ship's lights dimmed slightly, as if it too was exhausted from the battle. Mike helped the alien to its feet. It looked at him, its golden eyes filled with gratitude, and placed a hand on his shoulder. No words were exchanged, but the message was clear. "Thank you." "What now?" Sam asked, breaking the silence. Mike looked out at the horizon. The alien ship's beacon was still active, and in the distance, a faint light appeared. It wasn't the dawn. It was something else. Help was coming. "Now," Mike said, his voice steady, "we get ready for whatever comes next." The crew began to repair the boat, their adrenaline fading into a quiet determination. They had faced the impossible and survived, but the night wasn't over yet. Something bigger was on the way, and they would need every ounce of courage they had left. Alien Alliance. The storm finally began to fade, leaving the ocean eerily calm. The fishermen, battered and soaked, huddled together on the deck. The alien ship, now glowing faintly, hovered just above the water, its shield still enveloping the boat. The faint light on the horizon was growing brighter, cutting through the lingering darkness like a promise or a threat. Mike stood next to the alien, his mind racing. The creature had been their lifeline, helping them survive the impossible. But now, the beacon it had activated was drawing attention. He didn't know if it would bring allies or something worse. "What's coming?" Mike asked, turning to the alien. The alien raised a hand and projected another hologram. This time, the image was different. It showed a fleet of ships, sleek in silver, flying in perfect formation. They looked advanced, far more advanced than anything Mike had seen on Earth. But behind them, another image appeared, a dark, shadowy figure, massive and ominous. Its red eyes matched those of the sea creatures they had just fought, and its silhouette radiated menace. "Allies?" Sam asked hopefully, staring at the silver ships. "Maybe," Mike replied, his eyes narrowing. "Or maybe they're here for the ship." The alien pointed to the silver ships, then to itself, and then made a circular motion with its hands. It was trying to explain something. Mike thought for a moment, piecing it together. "They're connected," he said aloud. "These ships, they're from your people, aren't they?" The alien nodded, its golden eyes shimmering with relief. But then it pointed to the shadowy figure in the hologram and made a slicing motion across its throat. "And that's their enemy," Mike muttered. "The same enemy that sent those creatures after you." The alien nodded again, this time with urgency. It gestured to the beacon, and then to the ocean around them. Whatever it was saying, it was clear they weren't safe yet. "We've got incoming," Joe yelled from the stern, his voice trembling. The light on the horizon had split into two distinct sources, one glowing silver and steady, the other flickering with an angry red hue. It was clear now. There were two factions heading their way. "We don't even know which side to trust," Sam shouted. Mike looked at the alien, who was staring at him intently. It reached out, placing its hand on his chest. In an instant, Mike felt a flood of images rush into his mind again. This time, it was more vivid. Memories of a peaceful, advanced civilization, their cities gleaming under twin suns. Then, chaos, the shadowy enemy invading their world, bringing destruction and fear. The aliens' people had fought back, scattering across the galaxy to survive. And now, the last remnants of their fleet were coming to save one of their own. When the vision ended, Mike gasped, clutching his head. The alien stepped back, its eyes filled with desperation. "They're telling the truth," Mike said, his voice steady. "The silver ships, those are the good guys." "What about the red light?" Joe asked nervously. Mike looked at the growing crimson glow on the horizon. "That's their enemy," he said grimly. "And if we don't act fast, they'll destroy us all." The alien walked to its ship and activated another panel. This time, a compartment slid open, revealing a sleek, orb-like device. It was larger than the ones they had used earlier, and it pulsed with a deep rhythmic hum. "What's that?" Sam asked, staring at the device. The alien gestured for them to follow. It brought the orb to the center of the ship and placed it into a socket. Instantly, the ship's glow intensified, and new symbols appeared on its surface. The alien turned to Mike and made another series of gestures. "It's powering up the ship," Mike translated, trying to keep up. "It wants us to help defend it." "Defend it?" Joe asked incredulously. "We barely survived the last fight. What can we possibly do?" Mike looked at the alien devices still clutched in their hands. "We've got these," he said. "And now we got them." He pointed to the silver light on the horizon. "We just need to hold out until they get here." The red glow grew closer, revealing a massive dark ship cutting through the sky like a predator. It was flanked by smaller vessels, their angular designs and jagged edges making them look like weapons in motion. As they approached, the air grew heavy, charged with an ominous energy. "Positions," Mike shouted. "This is it. We hold the line." The alien ship emitted another pulse, extending its shield to cover the boat completely. The fishermen took their places, aiming their weapons at the incoming enemy ships. The alien, though visibly weak, stood beside Mike, its determination shining through its exhaustion. The first of the enemy ships fired, a beam of red energy slamming into the shield. The impact shook the boat, but the shield held. The fishermen returned fire, their weapons releasing bursts of crackling energy that lit up the night. The smaller enemy ships dodged and weaved, but a few were struck, exploding in brilliant flashes of light. The alien ship began to hum louder, its energy building. The symbols on its surface glowed brighter, and the orb at its center pulsed rhythmically. Mike realized it was preparing for something big. "Whatever you're doing," Mike said to the alien, "do it fast. We're running out of time." The red glow from the enemy's mothership intensified as it fired another massive beam, cracking the shield slightly. The fishermen braced themselves, their weapons blazing as the battle raged on. And then, from the horizon, the Silver Fleet arrived. The aliens' allies descended like a storm, their sleek ships firing beams of light that tore through the enemy vessels. The dark mothership turned to face the new threat, its attention finally diverted. "We made it," Sam whispered, his voice filled with relief. But the battle wasn't over. The alien ship's energy reached its peak, and the orb at its center began to spin. The alien turned to Mike, placing its hand on his shoulder, and made a final gesture, a nod of gratitude. "What are you doing?" Mike asked, a sense of dread creeping in. The alien didn't answer. It stepped into the center of its ship, its body glowing as it merged with the orb. The ship pulsed one last time, releasing a wave of energy that spread across the ocean, obliterating the remaining enemy ships in an instant. The Silver Fleet hovered above, silent witnesses to the sacrifice. The alien ship's glow faded, its surface now cold and lifeless. Mike stared at it, his chest tight with emotion. "They gave everything to protect us," he said quietly, "to protect their people." The fishermen stood in silence, the weight of the moment sinking in. Above them, the silver ships began to descend, their lights casting a gentle glow over the battered boat. Help had arrived, but at a cost they would never forget. Battle for survival. The Silver Fleet descended slowly, their sleek, gleaming ships a stark contrast to the destruction surrounding the fishing boat. The fishermen, exhausted but alive, watched as one of the ships hovered directly overhead. A hatch opened, and a beam of soft, white light illuminated the deck. It was a beacon of safety, yet it carried an aura of authority. Mike steadied himself as a figure emerged from the light. It was humanoid but taller and more regal than the alien they had rescued. Its silver-toned skin shimmered under the moonlight, and its piercing blue eyes radiated a calm, commanding presence. Draped in a flowing suit that seemed to shift and move like liquid metal, it stepped forward, surveying the scene with a mix of curiosity and sorrow. The figure raised a hand, and a melodic voice, both soothing and commanding, filled the air. Though its words were alien, the fisherman instinctively understood the message. It was both a greeting and a question. "They want to know what happened," Sam whispered, his voice hushed in awe. Mike stepped forward, his grip on the alien device tightening. He gestured toward the lifeless ship, and then to the horizon, where the wreckage of the enemy fleet floated on the waves. "Your friend saved us," he said, his voice steady despite the lump in his throat. "They gave everything to protect you. And us." The silver alien's expression softened, a flicker of grief crossing its otherwise stoic face. It nodded slowly, as if acknowledging the weight of the sacrifice. Then it turned toward its fleet, raising both arms. The other ships responded, releasing beams of light that began scanning the wreckage. "Ah, Mike," Joe said nervously, pointing to the water. "Something's still out there." The ocean, which had briefly calmed, began to churn again. The sonar, long silent, started beeping erratically. The fishermen exchanged uneasy glances as dark shapes appeared beneath the waves. These were larger and more numerous than before, moving with a coordinated precision that made their earlier foes seem primitive. "What now?" Sam asked, his voice rising in panic. "I thought we won." The silver alien turned sharply, its blue eyes narrowing as it stared at the water. It raised one hand, and a new hologram appeared. This one showed a map of the ocean floor, highlighting a massive, pulsating shape buried deep beneath the surface. "That's their source," Mike realized. The ship wasn't just a beacon, It was keeping something contained. The silver alien gestured urgently, and new symbols appeared on the hologram. It was a warning. The containment field had failed, and the real threat was rising. The creatures they had fought earlier were just scouts, harbingers of something far worse. "Brace yourselves," Mike shouted. "This isn't over." From the depths, a massive shadow emerged. It was unlike anything they had faced before. A gargantuan leviathan with jagged, glowing armor and multiple, writhing limbs. Its size dwarfed the fishing boat, and even the silver fleet seemed insignificant in its presence. The creature's roar echoed across the ocean, a bone-chilling sound that seemed to pierce the very soul. The silver alien stepped forward, its calm demeanor replaced with a fierce determination. It issued a series of sharp, melodic commands to its fleet. The ships responded instantly, shifting into battle formation and firing concentrated beams of energy at the Leviathan. The creature retaliated, its limbs lashing out with devastating force. One of the silver ships was struck, spiraling into the ocean in a fiery explosion. The fishermen watched in horror as the battle unfolded, their small boat tossed like a toy in the churning waves. "We can't just stand here," Sam yelled. "What do we do?" Mike looked at the alien devices in their hands, then at the lifeless ship. A plan began to form in his mind. A desperate, dangerous plan. "The ship's still got power," he said. "If we can reactivate it, we might be able to take that thing out." Joe stared at him like he was insane. "You want to use the alien ship? We don't even know how it works." "We don't have a choice," Mike shot back. "That thing won't stop until it destroys everything, including us." The silver alien seemed to understand their intention. It stepped forward, pointing to the ship and then to the orb that still pulsed faintly at its core. It made a series of gestures, indicating how to channel the remaining energy into a single, focused attack. Mike nodded. "We're doing this. Sam, Joe, help me. The rest of you, keep those weapons ready. If that thing gets too close, we'll need to hold it off." The fishermen scrambled to the alien ship, guided by the silver alien. Its precise movements and calm instructions gave them the confidence to act despite their fear. Together, they worked to reroute the ship's remaining power, using the orb as a conduit. Meanwhile, the battle raged on. The silver fleet managed to wound the Leviathan, but it wasn't enough. The creature's glowing armor seemed to regenerate, and its attacks grew more ferocious. Another silver ship fell, crashing into the ocean with a fiery burst. "Mike, we're running out of time," Joe shouted, his hands trembling as he worked on the alien controls. "I know," Mike snapped. "Just keep going." The ship began to hum, its symbols glowing brighter as the orb reached its full charge. The silver alien stepped back, raising a hand in a gesture of finality. It was ready. "Get clear," Mike yelled, motioning for everyone to move away. The ship emitted a deep, resonating pulse, and a beam of pure, concentrated energy shot toward the Leviathan. The beam struck its center, piercing through its glowing armor and into its core. The creature let out a deafening roar, its massive body convulsing as the energy consumed it. The ocean lit up with a blinding flash, and then silence. When the light faded, the Leviathan was gone. The water was calm again, the storm completely subsided. The silver fleet hovered above, their lights dimmed in a quiet salute to the fallen. The fishermen collapsed onto the deck, exhausted but alive. Mike looked at the alien ship, now completely lifeless, and then at the silver alien. Its blue eyes met his, filled with both sorrow and gratitude. "You've got a hell of a fight on your hands," Mike said quietly. "But if you ever need help again, you know where to find us." The silver alien nodded, a faint smile crossing its face. It raised its hand in a gesture of farewell, and then the fleet ascended into the sky, disappearing into the stars. The fishermen sat in silence, the weight of their ordeal sinking in. They had faced the impossible and survived. But as Mike stared out at the calm ocean, he couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning. A new beginning, The morning sun crept over the horizon, bathing the ocean in hues of gold and crimson. The fisherman's boat, battered and scarred, drifted in the calm waters. The only sound was the gentle lapping of waves, a stark contrast to the chaos that had unfolded hours earlier. Mike sat at the bow, staring at the horizon. His mind was a whirlwind of thoughts, replaying every moment of the battle, every decision, and every loss. Beside him, the alien ship rested, its once brilliant glow completely extinguished. It was a silent monument to the sacrifice of the creature that had trusted them. "Think anyone's going to believe this?" Sam asked, breaking the silence. He sat cross-legged on the deck, his hand still gripping one of the alien devices. "No," Mike replied with a faint smile. "But I don't care." The rest of the crew chuckled weakly. Despite the exhaustion and lingering fear, there was an unspoken sense of pride among them. They had faced the unimaginable and lived to tell the tale. Joe walked over, holding a piece of twisted metal from one of the fallen enemy ships. "What do we even do with all this?" he asked, holding up the fragment. "The government. Scientists. They'll tear this apart the second they find out." Mike shook his head. "No one's taking it. Not yet." He looked at the alien devices scattered across the deck, then at the lifeless ship. "This is bigger than any government. This is about survival. For them. And for us. We keep it safe. We figure out what it means, what we can do with it." The crew nodded, trusting Mike's judgment. They had followed him through storms, battles, and decisions no human was ever meant to make. If anyone could guide them now, it was him. As the day wore on, they worked to repair their boat, salvaging what they could. The alien devices were carefully stored in a locked compartment. The alien ship, though dormant, was tied securely to their vessel. It was clear to everyone that it wasn't just a relic, it was a part of their future. By afternoon, they'd reached the harbor. Their small coastal village came into view, its familiar rooftops and weathered docks a comforting sight. But as they neared, they realized their return would not go unnoticed. A crowd had gathered along the shore. Word of the strange lights and sounds over the ocean had spread, and the villagers stood waiting, their faces filled with curiosity and concern. "Looks like we got an audience," Joe muttered. Mike sighed. "Stick to the basics. Storm hit us hard, lost most of our catch, barely made it back. Nothing else." "And the ship?" Sam asked, glancing at the alien vessel. "We say nothing," Mike replied firmly. "Not yet." The boat pulled into the dock, and the villagers rushed to help them tie off and unload. Questions came in rapid succession. What happened? Were they hurt? Did they see the strange lights? Mike stuck to the plan, answering carefully and deflecting suspicion. The crew played along, though the tension was palpable. They were all painfully aware of the ship tied to the boat, hidden under a tarp. Every time someone glanced in its direction, Mike felt his heart race. That night, after the village had settled, the crew gathered in Mike's small cabin. The alien devices were laid out on the table, glowing faintly in the dim light. The weight of their discovery hung heavy in the room. "We can't keep this secret forever," Joe said. "Sooner or later, someone's going to find out." Mike nodded. "I know. But we need time. We need to understand what we're dealing with before we let the world in." "And what about them?" Sam asked, gesturing to the sky. "Do you think they'll come back?"